Well, we mentioned it yesterday, and we'll bring it up again today. Keith Gill posted on Twitter. He's the roaring kitty persona. That seemed to be a screenshot of his position in GameStop. At the end of trading, I think the stock was up a good 20-something% yesterday. News today is that E-Trade is considering telling Keith Gill that he can get off the platform going forward after growing concern about potential stock manipulation given his purchase and activity around GameStop. And I don't really know what responsibility E-Trade has here to monitor this, although I would think that at the very least you probably have to report the activity. If when it's this big of a person, when it's this big of a persona, you might have to, for instance, report a bunch of like suspicious activity reports. And I think likely that's what E-Trade is thinking about here is, do we have potential reputation damage?
I don't know what the legal definition of market manipulation is, sure. But if it doesn't include this, it should. This is his conduct is intended just to goose the price of the stock. For short, he bought options on it, the article recounts, before making that post. Options are by definition short-term. They expire. How is this not manipulation? How is this legal? This undermines.
Does he have any inside information?
No, I didn't say it was insider trading. I said this is market manipulation. It's a total. It's as I understand it, it's a different standard.
Yeah.
So, look, my point is, if it isn't, and this is just my layman's reaction to it, I bring no special expertise to this issue. If this isn't, it should be. It undermines confidence and faith in markets, and I'm a little bit idealistic, I admit it. I get misty-eyed about stock markets. They're supposed to direct capital to its highest and best use. In their best incarnation, they help economic growth. This does not. It degrades them.
That's fair. GameStop stock, I'm bringing up because why not? Stock is down by 2% today. However, over the last 12 months is up now 67% with Keith Gill getting back into the game.
Can we stop
here.
using his name? Can we stop crediting him? Can we stop?
No, we can't. We have to say his name.
Call him the market manipulator. There's a fella out there who's posting incendiary,
I'm calling him Keith Gill because I don't want to say roaring kitty.
Or deep blanking value.
Yeah.
No,
I can't say one of those
All
words.
Everything else is profane.
What else am I to refer to him as?
Well, there's a fella out there who has made a fortune, not a small fortune, but potentially hundreds of millions of dollars by exhorting people to buy a company with very questionable fundamentals. He's created this online following of young day traders. And a couple weeks ago, after disappearing for a couple of years, posted a picture of himself, suggested he's getting engaged in trading again, sends the price of this stock. Now, we now know he bought options on the stock immediately before doing this, made hundreds of millions of dollars. And the question we were asking in the last segment was, does that constitute manipulation? Mike, you made a good argument that it's really no different than what any portfolio manager does. They buy something, then they go out on CNBC and talk about it.
That's what I was going to say. Is my counterpoint, and look, I'm not an SEC regulator, so I'm going to leave this to them in terms of what they believe is or is not market manipulation. But every single day, there's a portfolio manager on Bloomberg or CNBC or Fox Business out there talking about some company that they own. And it turns out, they don't really give a whole lot of disclosure about it, but they own prior to getting on there, and they tell you.
They're usually longer-term investors, too. His situation's a little bit different.
It is, yep. He is very, this is a very specific strategy, and it is not, very clearly not based on the fundamentals of the business. But
he may claim that it is.
Even let's take a step back, and let's talk about a much more famous investor who does not go on CNBC and do this sort of thing. But let's talk about Warren Buffett, right? He goes, let's just hypothetically say that Warren Buffett saw real tremendous value in GameStop stock and decided to load up on it. Again, hypothetical. To my knowledge, Warren Buffett does not own any GameStop. Just want to clear that up here. We would find out about that, depending on how much he bought, at their next regulatory filing, usually a quarter later, unless he bought over a certain percentage of the outstanding shares of the company, in which case I think it's an immediate disclosure. He's not doing anything. He's not doing what Keith Gill is doing, which we're talking about here. But even in those cases, Would you expect GameStop stock to go through the roof if Warren Buffett suddenly bought a whole bunch of shares?
I'm not sure I love the analogy. If he had instead bought options and then that very morning tweeted a picture of himself I want to keep it specific to these facts. I admit, Mike, there's a much like Potter Stewart said about pornography, there's a gray line, but I know it when I see it.
Okay.
I would say this isn't my area. I'm a little uncomfortable saying definitively this is market manipulation. What the heck do I know? It doesn't feel right, though. This feels different than what you just described.
If it is market manipulation, then I think we have a serious problem with all the people that show up on CNBC and Bloomberg every day to shop their book.
Mike, again, the facts here seem to be a little bit different. None of those people are buying options on a stock, which is a short-term right.
Do you know that?
They would presumably have to disclose that. That
True.
would be part. So I think these guys
which, by the way, Keith Gill just did, right? He posted his positions.
He did. Maybe
online.
He thought that constituted disclosure. Had he done it before, perhaps?
Right.
Again, the facts and the facts and the timing, I think,
are
matter
important.
here. He bought options, then he made the post.
Yep.
And then, maybe to his credit, disclosed the amount of profit he made.
But that
on
was
those
a good few days. A good week later. That was
okay.
I
didn't realize. I thought it was the same day. See, so this makes it worse, Mike.
Yeah, it does.
Facts.
The post about his position in GameStop, I think, was at least a week after. He
almost
posted
suggesting
the
that he
image
was
of himself leaning forward.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Maybe someone advised him, "Hey, disclose that. Cover yourself." Almost that seems so disjointed relative to the initial sequence that maybe somebody advised him to look. I'm speculating. This is not my area. This just doesn't feel right, Mike. It feels like something that could undermine confidence in financial markets, given how little confidence people have in institutions generally these days. This is not helpful. Please, regulators, clamp down on this
stuff.
stuff.
By the way, this is why, however, he gets such a following, I think, is because...
Oh, sure. He appears to be...
He's the Robin Hood.
Anti-authority.
Right? Yeah. Like, he's kind of, I'm robbing Peter to pay... I am going after the big guy. That was the initial push for this guy was, hey, I'm going after short investors.
But he's doing it solely for personal gain. Unlike
That's what this looks like.
Unlike the counter-institutionalists who say that I just invented that term. I don't think it's particularly descriptive, but the anti-authority folks of the 1960s, there's no principle here. It's solely about personal gain. Is that noble? I mean, what is there about this person to admire? What's he trying to prove? Other than that he can get rich quickly at the expense of a bunch of dupes.
Not saying that
will not make money. Yeah. I'm not saying that's
not saying we should admire him. I'm just not sure that it's illegal. That's where I'll land.
I don't. I think plainly it's not because he's not in jail right now.
Yeah.
I'm saying it should be. It can't be made illegal retroactively. Yep. But if it's not captured in the definition of market manipulation,
then
we got a loophole.
Yeah.